What's up, bikers? Welcome to episode 149 of the Biker Bar. Really appreciate everybody tuning in today. I know it's been a little bit of a break since right before Sea Otter, but sometimes you need that. And here I am. Great show today. I'm really excited to talk with Dylan Lamar from Commencal. And before we get started, though, just let me run through the typicals here. First off, number one supporters of the channel is everybody on Patreon. Thank you so much for doing that. If any of you guys are interested, or any of you people out there are interested in helping support the channel, just swing by patreon.com/biker or put in biker B1KER. I'm pretty sure you know how to use a browser. Anyways, do that. You can do as little as $1 a month, man. It just helps put beer in the fridge, or $5. You can get some stickers and a letter, get to see some extra content. For example, just yesterday, I posted up a ride in Pennsylvania that I did. Went badly. Broke a helmet, messed myself all up. But hey, that's the stuff that you get to see on Patreon. And that one actually might not even go to a regular video. So there's a bunch of extra content on there if you want to be in that club. But like I said, the bottom line is you really help out, support the channel. Oddly enough, running a podcast and a YouTube channel is a little more expensive than I thought. So it really helps. And then you guys get to see the products and stuff like that. So really appreciate all the support, all of you out there. Really means a lot. Those of you guys that want something for free, you can keep watching this here. Hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Subscribe if you're there. Otherwise, Facebook and Instagram, there's a bunch of free content over there. You can do that. I do have a TikTok, but I very seldomly do that. So I need to get to TikToking, huh? Anyways, enough of all of that. We'll go ahead and bring Dylan on here, and we'll get to the show. How's it going, man?
Yo, going great, man. How about yourself?
Dude, I'm living the dream, right? That's
all we can do.
Right. So, Dylan, just before we get started, I asked you this right before the show. It's Commencal, right?
Correct. Yeah. Commencal. As long as you get that second C soft, you're good.
Good to go there. So that'll solve it for a bunch of you guys out there arguing with your friends. You'll know how to say it correctly.
Our most asked question, we get that literally every single day. So we get people calling into the office and they're just like, I don't need anything except to know how to pronounce the brand.
Right.
Perfect.
They got like a $20 bill laying on the table, just a full-on bet with their buddy. They're like, I know I'm right.
No, it has happened. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. Where are you guys based out of?
Our U.S. office is in Golden, Colorado, right in the foothills. So we got the trails. Literally, you ride right out of the office door and straight to the trailhead. So it's not a bad place to be.
I may be doing a Colorado trip here soon. That I haven't ridden there yet. Everything I see online just looks super sick, though.
Oh, it's so good. And we've been getting dumped on with rain these past few days. And like the soil here, the more rain that falls, just the better the soil gets. It's kind of real shaly, kind of a sandy kind of a soil. And it's just, the more moisture, the better. So
isn't there like two sides to Colorado? Like people are like, oh, the Front Range or something like that. It's like one's like a little more deserty, and then the other one's more kind of like Tahoe, I guess you could say.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of Denver, which goes into the Front Range. Like we're just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. And then you got obviously like the Rockies, the range, and then you kind of have the western slope, which starts basically kind of at Grand Junction area. Grand Junction, Fruita's out that way. So yeah, definitely different riding no matter or wherever you're going at.
Yeah.
No matter where you're going.
That's more like the high desert kind of stuff over there then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
So,
yeah, dude, I'm super stoked to go over there. Everything looks just like super fun.
No complaints.
Right. Is that where you're from all your life, or?
No, I'm originally from Texas. Amarillo, just like 6 hours down the road from Denver. When I say Texas, everyone kind of thinks more like South Texas, but yeah. I mean, Amarillo, it's up in the Panhandle, the flattest, windiest part you could ever live in. And so I made the move here back in 2010. Then day after graduation of high school, moved here to Denver.
So were you into mountain biking then?
I was, yeah. So I grew up racing moto, just from my dad, my uncles, cousins, brother, everyone raced. So I grew up racing moto and BMX, and then got into dirt jumping, bought a Specialized P2 little dirt jumper, and then started riding that actually at Angel Fire Bike Park. That's the closest bike park we have. It's about 3.5, 4 hours away, and just getting bounced around everywhere on a freaking hardtail at Angel Fire. If you ever an Angel Fire, like you're probably like, holy crap. But yeah, just loved it and just kept going and started racing a little bit in the Mountain State Cups and made the move
Next
out
thing you
here.
know, you
So,
find yourself. So are you're a sponsored rider as well. So what's
yes.
that entail?
I mean, with that, it's kind of now where I'm at kind of with my career, it's a good mix of kind of racing, media, as well as working as well. And
Mhm.
it's, I raced for a long time. And now my goal with racing was always kind of to put myself in a position to where I could have a good position in the bike industry.
Mhm.
Racing doesn't last forever. And and I
Yeah.
was like national rider. I mean, they got a lot of, podiums at GRTs and nationals and that and good in juniors, but
Mhm.
things happen and things align a certain way and
Yeah.
here I am. So, but yeah, it's a really good mix of being kind of more on the ambassador side with
Mhm.
certain brands that I'm with currently from, Continental, P&W, Olin's, I9, a few other brands outside of just Commencal. So it's a really good balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a friend, Andrew Taylor, AT, that
Oh yeah.
he does kind of like that, where it's like you're like, what do you actually do, man?
I get that question a lot. I actually used to coach with AT at a Camp of Champions in Whistler, like
Oh, right on, man. He's super cool guy, man.
2011 through
Super cool guy.
14. Yeah,
Huh?
AT's sick. He's a really good dude.
Yeah, yeah. So where is Commencal from originally? Because you said earlier USA office, and I know out here in the Northern California, I don't see a whole lot of those bikes around here,
Mhm.
but they're definitely starting to like sprinkle in more and more.
Yeah, definitely. So the main HQ is in Andorra. So I had no idea where Andorra was or even what Andorra was until I started working for and riding for the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tiny little country in between Spain and France. It's about 2 hours from Barcelona, and so that's where the main office is. Engineers, most of our like media marketing team is there, accounting, everything,
So
and then
this is a brand that started in Europe, basically got big there, and then how long have they been in the US now?
right now, so it was in Carlsbad, California, and then moved
Mm-hmm.
over here to Colorado in 2018, and they were in Carlsbad for about 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So still pretty new into the
Right,
like the
right.
USA side, and we have our hub here, and then over in Squamish as well, we have a Canadian office.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so being direct to consumer, being able to have our offices and marketing department and small office that we need in each kind of country that we work with
Mm-hmm.
makes things a lot easier as far as distribution and working with athletes and races and
Mm-hmm.
engaging in the local areas.
So were they direct to consumer in Europe as well when they started, or?
Yeah, so it hasn't been direct for forever. It kind of started with, they were selling a few, online retailers, this and that, few shops, and
Mm-hmm.
then went full direct to consumer, quite a few years ago, and it's worked well. We're starting to work with more B2B partners as well as bike parks, certain
Mm-hmm.
hubs that we get people a demo fleet, certain shops, it's just so people can get on the bike in their area again, because we aren't like another brand that's selling through all the other shops that people can just go test their sizing, see the bike, they physically can touch it. So we've really been pushing hard on the B2B side and again, in bike parks and demos and everything, getting people on the bikes.
Yeah, definitely. That's key. That is one of the downsides to the direct stuff. It's like you have
Yeah.
to be able to like either have some kind of like online community where you're like other people that purchase your bikes are willing to show people, or it's just like that's the one part where it's like, but I mean, honestly, even with like a regular bike shop, not many of them will have demos. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah,
No.
you could try to ride this, but it's basically going to be yours.
Pretty much,
Like,
yeah, and you can get on it and ride around the parking lot or something like that, and
yeah,
that's one reason why we put so much effort into our media team, like our full in-house media guys. We're honestly, it's some of the best in the world, and having the opportunity to work with them and learn from them, because again, marketing a brand that people can't physically see right in
yeah.
front of them is, we have to make it a way that gets them excited to buy the product.
Mhm.
And so that's one reason why we put a really big emphasis on our media that we do consistently too. So
Yeah, 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 totally. So are you guys going to be doing more of the kind of the event scene where it's like, I know we were just at Sea Otter, you guys didn't have a booth there, but like kind of like the Sedona Mount or the Bentonville kind of stuff, or?
yep. Yeah, so we'll be in Bentonville there in a couple weeks,
Oh, right
and
on.
we're really picking. So we did have a full like demo tour that we were doing, years ago, all throughout the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, kind of everything. And really kind of where we were seeing the benefit, the certain areas we went was specific, like big event expos that, there's a lot of people there that are passionate about the brand, because honestly, if you go do a demo just at a bike park, then most of the time you'll just get people there on vacation that has no idea what they're doing. And they're just looking for a free bike to ride for the day. They don't
Right.
to buy one. They could care less what brand it is.
Yeah.
So working with events like we were at Sedona earlier this year, that people actually pay to come demo bikes. And that's what's on the market. Same with, like I said, we'll be in Bentonville, and with our event crew is at Fruta. Today's the first day of that. So they're out there doing that demo fest. So kind of select few spots.
Did you go to Sedona this year?
I did. Yeah. It was a little white.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I didn't realize you're in Sedona, and then I thought to myself, well, I think I was at the event for like an hour. I mean, other than that, we were out of town the whole time trying to ride somewhere else.
Yeah, we ended up. A bunch of people were going over to Phoenix, and we were going to like the next town over. And I'm not gonna lie, it was really pretty there with all like the snow. I've never seen Sedona like that before, so that was cool. But even there, as far as just having the bikes there, the people were stoked to see them. We were letting them ride around the parking lot and testing sizing and just seeing how the bike feels, especially the new Tempo that we just released this year. People are really stoked on that, and to see it in person, they were hyped on.
So if I remember correctly, it's like a shorter travel bike, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's 125 mils in the rear, 140 up front. So, all new design that we came up with there.
So that's a brand new model?
Yep. Yeah, so it's the Tempo, again, short travel trail bike, the VCS system, which is virtual contact system. Our engineer has been working on that bike for a good amount of time now, and we were stoked to release it. A lot of people were stoked on the video that Fricks did over there in Kamloops and all sorts of places. So we're stoked on it. People have been really excited to get on it, and all the feedback we've been getting, like I said, is really good, and so. Yeah, nothing but good things.
Yeah, I remember when I saw that drop. I got a thing for white bikes, man. And you guys, the original media photos have that white frame, and it just pops so good.
It does. Yeah, you do the right build kit on it, and a few blingy parts here and there, and it's just clean. Looks really good.
Yeah, super good. So, one of the things that you guys do that's a little bit different than everybody out there is you are all aluminum, right?
Yep, no carbon.
So is there a particular reason for that, or?
So it did carbon a long time ago, and just from the sustainability part to, as well as, Max Commencal, where the name Commencal comes from. He visits all the manufacturing plants constantly, and he's very big on, a sustainable product, as well as from, again, how manufacturings do their process of making frames. And carbon fiber is not the most, not the best for the environment and everything like that. So that was one reason why he stuck with aluminum, and just the longevity of the frames, man. Like, you can just pound and out laps on an aluminum frame and it's going to last you. Yes, everything breaks. Carbon fiber bikes break, aluminum bikes break, everything breaks, but it's nothing that's, most of the time catastrophic, except for obviously like an extreme. Again, things happen, but and it just, as far as a cost as well, manufacturing aluminum frames is much more cost effective than carbon, and being able to put out products and test products much quicker and easier with aluminum. Literally, our shop in Andorra, they get the first prototype frame in there. They want to change something, literally they go into the shop right there, they cut the piece off, they weld on another one, they're back out on testing within that same day, which is, you can't really do that with carbon much. So that's kind of the main points why we're sticking with aluminum, and we'll see, maybe one day we'll start venturing a little bit more into the carbon fiber world, but for now,
I think aluminum has its place. I mean, it's not like it's a bad material. I mean, we've been making bikes out of it for a long time. I think that
for sure.
Maybe very successful marketing over the last 10 years or whatnot, people tend to attribute like, oh, if it's good, it's carbon. And you're starting to see other brands as well. I mean, like that are also not running carbon frames, or very limited on their models. And I think that there's a lot of benefits to it. And I think it's one of those things that initially, you know, super trendy to make sure you had a carbon frame, and then later it's like, well, let's do what we think is right for, you know, us as a business and our customers
Mhm.
and whatnot. And so
Yeah.
I
And a lot of people come at us with, aluminum is heavier, all the, the weight snobs out there, but it's like,
mhm,
we're a gravity oriented company. We aren't looking to set a PR on a climb. We're looking to have the most, have a hell of a time going downhill. And even on like my XL Tempo, fully built, aluminum wheels, everything's right at 34 pounds.
yeah, I mean, that's just
So
as
it's,
much as mine. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like it's in the grand scheme of things, like you can start running, carbon wheels, carbon cranks, carbon bars. Like if you really want to start getting weight down and start counting the grams, but honestly, like a little bit extra weight going downhill, it helps in a lot of ways
Yeah.
with the handling
Yeah.
of the bike, the dampening of the bike too. And so I personally like the feel of an aluminum bike. Even before Commencal, I was riding for a carbon company at the time, but I just still prefer the feel of an aluminum frame.
What is it that you prefer? Just like how it dampens a little bit, or
Exactly. Yeah, it's not as rigid. It's
uh-huh.
just like going back and forth between like carbon rims and aluminum. There's pros and cons to both, but
Hmm.
just having that little bit more of flex on them
Hmm.
is really nice. And again, on as rough as tracks are getting and racetracks are getting, being able to find
Yeah.
that little fine tune point is good.
Yeah, I think I mean, you met me at Sea Otter. I'm a pretty big dude, so for me, I really leaned into carbon because it being so much stiffer for me at my size is probably has a little bit more flex in it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So like,
for sure.
but I will say that there's a point where it's too much. Like I
Mhm.
had a carbon hardtail, and I just I didn't like it. It was too stiff. Where I went back, I sold it, and then like a year later, it was like, I'm buying another aluminum one because that was so fun to ride. And
Yeah,
that just
definitely.
that feeling of the bike, just it felt so much better, where it was like one of those moments, you know, in your life where you're like, okay, there's definitely like, it's not like this one thing is the best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, and there's so many good products out on the market now. Like you can't go out and buy a bad bike.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
it's
if
really
it's a
tough.
new brand coming onto the line, trying to compete with a lot of the top dogs, it's like it's still going to be most likely a good solid bike. It may not be your exact feel that you're looking for, but it's a good quality bicycle. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
that's
tell
where
people
I
that all the time. It's like, even if you're a new rider getting in, I used to be able to tell people like, yeah, go buy a used bike. It's going to be, you know, cheaper and so much better, you know, and it'll be the same, you
yeah.
know, and now it's like, man, if you're buying a bike that the geometry is like 2-3 years old, like it's such a different riding experience. So
Mhm.
I've definitely pivoted to be like, just buy a brand new bike and, you know, get what you can afford, and
Yeah.
you'll have a good time, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And we offer like all of our demo bikes at the end of the year. We have a big section on our website that's secondhand bikes, and those are
Mhm.
all our demos that we had for that year. You can get a hell of a bike. Yeah, it's used that season on demos, but I mean it's completely rebuilt, ready to go. If anything needs to be
Yeah.
changed, we change it, and you get technically a used bike, but it's with us for a little bit discounted rate, and you still get a modern day bike that you could go. Obviously, you can get one brand new, but
Yeah.
so as far as used bikes go, it's like, we offer
And
that.
that would still cover, like, have, like, the full warranty from you guys then at that
Yep.
point too? Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Full warranty, everything.
Yeah, one of my buddies picked up, a frame from you guys that way. It was like,
Oh, nice.
you know, it was like, I think it said it was scratched or something. He's like, "I don't know, man. There's a couple spots here," or he's like, "I can't really tell." And it's like, you know, 2 days later, he's throwing it down the side of some hill. It's like, well, guess it doesn't matter. You know?
Exactly. Your first ride out or the first time you put it on a freaking bike rack or shoulder rack.
Right?
That's where 90% of the scratches on my bikes, I swear, come from transportation.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
definitely if you do a lot of shoveling too, man.
yeah. No, definitely. So, and
I
they're
think
all
that
usually, ride wrapped and everything. So we try to keep them as clean as we can. But
yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think the pricing is really good. I mean, when I was looking at the
Mhm.
Meta SX, your frame is right around, if I think remember correctly, it's $1,900.
Right around there. Yeah.
And I mean, if you're looking at a brand new, let's just say Nomad, that thing's like $4,000. I mean, that's twice the price.
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again,
So
kind of going back to the aluminum versus carbon, it's so much more cost effective running aluminum, and you still get
yeah,
the quality that you want there, So
yeah, and I think that I don't know where it came from. It probably came from like original mountain bikers were roadies, and or some of
Mhm.
them were, and it was like this, like having a light bike was always the most important. Maybe you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
it's not really the case anymore. And like you were saying, like especially with the gravity, kind of brand or like most people that are riding mountain bike, I'm going to generalize, anybody in the comments, you can go ahead and fire me up, but like most people are riding for the down. Like there's not like the group of like super XC, like stoked to climb guys is way smaller than it was like say in the 90s when I first started riding. Like
Yeah.
that group was super high and they're like, I don't give a shit, I'm just going to walk up this hill and go down. That group was small. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And now I would say it's like totally the other way around, where the majority of people are like, man, I don't need to do this climb.
Yeah, like no one needs to have no big dick energy out there trying to get top split in the gym,
Right,
yelling Strava, it's like
right,
fair,
yeah,
man.
yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, like some of the bikes, even at let's just say 38 pounds or something like that, the way that they ride, it just doesn't feel like a 38-pound bike from like 2005 or something like that, where
No, not at all.
you you wouldn't, if you were pedaling that bike around and somebody asked you how much it weighed, you would guess low 30s, just because the way it feels. It's just so
Mhm.
different.
Yeah, definitely. Like my first Commencal I had in 2018, it was right around is like Meta AM before like the old design.
Hmm.
And it was right around like 39.5 pounds. Again,
Hmm.
for X, I mean, I'm 6'3", a pretty tall dude. And
Hmm.
but I pedaled that thing ever. I'd go on 50 plus mile rides with it. I'd climb with anyone on it, but it didn't feel, the weight is put in the right places for the
Hmm.
performance of it, and you don't feel that really. I mean, obviously, if you're going, again, if you are that guy that's trying to go uphill as fast as you possibly can, obviously in the cross country world and everything like that, weight does matter. But yeah, for the general buyer out there, it's just like get you a good bike that gets to the top, good. And then again, we like having
Yeah,
fun downhill. So yeah,
yeah.
we should
Last
focus on.
year, I actually just put a video out on this. My friends and I, we climbed Downeyville, which is normally like a 45-minute shuttle ride,
Yeah.
and my one buddy that was riding with me, he was on the Meta SX, and we climbed like 5,000 feet that day. He was still
Yeah.
beating me up the hill. I mean, it doesn't necessarily like, I
Yeah.
mean, and I mean, it's obviously if we're doing that kind of climb, it's not like we're out of shape, but it's still like it climbs fine for what we are, like most people are like in their friend group. Nobody's trying to like, I
Mhm.
don't know. Nobody's trying to like you said, PR the climb. Everybody's like, let's just have fun, get up this hill and do
Yeah.
what the really fun part is.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even here in Golden, like we have, a bunch of women that buy our bikes too. And like and people will demo them, guys and girls go out and ride, turn on their Strava, and they come back to return the demo. And they're like, dude, I just set the fastest times I ever have on my than I did on my personal bike going up and down.
Oh wow.
And you're like, well, there you go. Kind of the data proves itself right there. So,
So you guys, like you said, you've only been in the U.S. for a couple of years. How long's the brand been around in Europe?
so Max started the company back in 2000.
Okay,
That's
so
why, yeah,
so
the first year of the company there.
right on. So
Yeah.
23 years, and so I mean,
Yep.
it's not like you just started yesterday. And what
No.
is he the lead engineer, or
No.
how did that come about?
So, I mean, he's been a part of the downhill racing scene since almost the beginning. And he was
Hmm.
with Sun, SUNN.
Hmm.
Back in the 90s, he was a big part of Sun. And then, working with guys of even, Nicholas Vujo and a lot of the top French downhillers of the day, Cedric Rossi even. And then he wanted to separate from them, and that's why he started Commencal in 2000. And with downhill in mind, that's where his heart and soul is downhill. And he has, a full team, even then, of people that he wanted to bring on with the brand that he trusted, and to start making the brand. Obviously, if you name a brand after your own name, then it's putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And I respect the guy a lot for that. It's pretty crazy. And so he's not necessarily on the engineer side of it. We have, like I said, we have our full engineer team doing that.
Yeah.
But he is heavily involved with pretty much everything on the brand, from the engineering side to the media side, the communications, the partnership, everything. He's still the top dog in it, and loves to be a part of everything that the brand is doing. So it's cool to be, again, affiliated with a company that you can literally, I could have this conversation I'm having with you, with him, just hit him up, FaceTime, talk with the guy, get a few things done, and all right, cool. See you later, man. Like with a lot of brands, you can't really do that with the owners. So very heavily involved with the industry.
That's cool, man. And then at least he had a cool last name. Like my last name's Schumacher. I think it would be like a shitty bike brand.
Wow, long name.
Right?
Yeah,
everybody would be butchering that one even worse than Commencal, right?
I know, right? It's pretty funny. Everyone thought me, I like snowboarded for a long time, raced border cross and stuff. Never thought that my last name Lamar was with Lamar Snowboards, and for the longest time. So it's kind of funny.
Nice. So that that engineering that they do, is that just from like their personal preferences, or you guys work probably pretty heavily with your pro team?
Yeah. So the Commencal Muck-Off team is kind of our main number one team. With Amaury, Thibaut, Miriam, all them. So that's and a few of our guys are that work directly under the brand, work with that team. So it's owned by Thibaut and Gaetan Ruffian, but two of the mechanics basically that work, sorry, screen's going off, that work under Commencal on the kind of the suspension development that works for Muck-Off, because that works for us as well. Is a guy, Arthur Quate, who is an absolute wizard with a bike, man. Like he's a huge part of that team's success, honestly, the company's success, and how the development of the V5. He's kind of one of those guys, and the V4, that he, like, as soon as he kind of starts talking, you're just kind of like, you just shut up and you're like, all right, cool, let's just hear what he has to say, and just literally like try to soak everything in. And it makes you feel like you know nothing about a bike when you start talking to him. You're like, dude, it's like talking to a mad scientist or something. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
So that's cool. So the Muck-Off team, like I said, pretty much works on a lot of the first generation, the prototypes, the development of it, any little changes that we want to do with the bike. They're kind of the number one go-to team for that. And then working with them with the Dorval team, and then the other teams that we have, kind of starts coming down the line a little bit of, once they test it and they know it works, all right, cool, we're going to spread it throughout the other teams, get the other riders' point of views on it. Then after all the teams give their input, everything style is exactly how they want to, then kind of starts going down the line for working on the production frame. Because a lot of those frames, like, it's literally just like pieces welded to it. They'll get a piece of metal, weld it to the rear linkage. I see how this worked, moving the idler, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of development that goes into it. Like the V5 first started in 2019.
So just so people that aren't familiar with the brand, he's talking about their downhill bike right now.
Yes. Yeah. The Supreme V5 downhill bike. So, so that started back in basically 2019 with the first mock-ups. I remember seeing those at Sea Otter. Our guys flew over and showing us all at the house, and we were all just drooling like it, of what's to come, So yeah, they put a lot of time and effort into it, to say the least.
So what was, the tempo, for example, that's more of like, would you say like down country, or is it XC, or?
To be honest, like a lot of people use those like down country terms and all this. I just say trail bike.
Yeah.
I say it is trail bike. Yeah, because like honestly, I ride that on everything that I was riding my like enduro bike on, like 140, 150, like 160 travel bike. And it handles it with the way that suspension design is handled. Like it is in the reality of it, 125 millimeters, but it feels like you have so much more than you have.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah,
What's
so that
what's the front have on it?
140.
So 140, 120. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. That's a lot like my tall boy that I had. And honestly,
Yeah, similar.
I
Yeah.
did the same thing as you. When I got that bike, at first I was like, oh, this is my like my mellow bike, you know, and then
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course what do we all do immediately? We're like, I'm gonna keep pushing the limits.
for
And
sure. Yeah.
you know, honestly, that I felt like with the exception with the of a trail where it was just a lot of like chatter, like high speed chatter, something like Downeyville example would be a good example. Like a trail like that, after you know an hour and a half of that or whatever, you could feel it more in your body, but it wasn't like the bike
Yeah,
was not handling all the terrain. You know what I mean?
for sure. Yeah, the bike doesn't seem overwhelmed.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still handling things just fine. It just doesn't handle it, I would say, as to the potential of a little bit more travel bike.
yeah, yeah. I think that a little bit like the way I always think about it is like the little more travel just like eats up mistakes and just like makes you not feel so beat up at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
kind of helps you out on those oh shit moments.
yeah,
A
yeah,
little bit more. You got to
exactly.
be a little bit more precise, a little shorter travel. So
Yeah, yeah. But they're so much fun. And I think that we went through this big curve of everybody being overbiked, and you'd see these guys that are like
mm,
living in super flat Florida buying a mega tower, and you're like, dude,
well,
you
fine.
don't need that much bike, you
Yeah,
know? And I think for me, because I've been riding for so long, it was like, dude, you guys are way over biked. And now you're starting to see that pendulum swing, and
yeah,
people are realizing, hey, I can get something that pedals a lot more efficient, and I'm still being able to hit my old chunky stuff and maybe even faster now
for sure.
because you can just pedal so much more like efficiently, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And that was kind of the thought of this bike as well. It's the shortest travel bike that we've ever made, but it's just like you said, like the whole mindset of I need more travel. I need more travel. And with that, yeah, that's a lot more bike to get top of the hill, and you're going to be struggling
Hmm.
much more. But in the reality of it, you can get away, less is more with this frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the design of it, again, it feels like you have so much more than you have. But the way the geometry is, it climbs very well, gets you the top quick, easy, efficiently, and and it's a comfortable bike to go spin all day on.
Yeah.
Especially here in Colorado, like we have some rides that are, I mean, they're long, big days on the bike. So you want something that's going to be comfortable for all those miles, of
Hmm.
elevation that you're climbing. So you're not just going to be killing yourself every time you're going uphill. But again, something that's going to perform well on all the downhills, all the uphills, just a
Hmm.
good overall bike. So
Yeah. Yeah. So did you guys use the same like pro team for developing that as well? Or
they wrote it a lot, but our EWS team,
Mhm.
so they're in a lot of the development of that. So we have, I mean, there's been stuff all over internet as well about the V5 meta. So it's the
Mhm.
longer travel version of the tempo, and that's
Mhm.
what they raced all last year, starting to develop the V5. So it's a longer travel. So it's going to be 150, 150,
Mhm.
160, or 170. So that's going to be getting more into that enduro travel size.
Mhm.
And they were a huge part of the development of the tempo, as well as this new V5
Yeah.
coming out. So as kind of on the downhill side, the Commencal Muck-Off team is with. Then again, we have our EWS team that works the same way with a lot of the same engineers, suspension,
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that the thing with the shorter travel is that in the past, all the shorter travel bikes were like, "Oh, that's an XC bike," and they would use that geometry. And I don't know who the first
yeah.
company was that finally was like, "Hey, let's use this like slacker stuff," you know. And
Mhm.
I think that's the real difference was like the reason that people wouldn't get that under, like, let's just say it, they wouldn't underbike would be like just because you didn't have that slacker head tube angle where once you started getting rowdy, you could still like feel really confident with the bike, you
Yeah,
know.
definitely.
And I
Exactly.
think that's really what the big change is there. That's awesome to have those like options now. Like even a hardtail nowadays with that slacker geometry, you're like, how
Yeah.
is this like? How am I pinning this trail like this
A
on a
hard
hardtail? You
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. With if you hardtail, you make the geometry right. that thing will eat up anything, And again, it's not going to do it as well as a full suspension, just like as short travel. It's not going to do it as good as a longer travel, but it still gets you through it good, efficiently, and it just kind of makes you ride in a little bit different way, a little less point and shoot and plow than being a little bit more precise, hitting your lines a little bit more. So I think it makes yourself a better rider, riding a shorter travel bike on heavier, steeper, gnarlier terrain. Because then when you
definitely
get on your big bike, you're like, oh dude, I can go twice as fast that I'll usually go to on this bike on this trail. So
and I think like it's also for those people out there that have been riding for a long time, going out and picking up a hardtail and ride it makes all your trails new again, because
for sure
you won't take the same lines. I mean, you might try, but sometimes you're going to be like, no, that's not as fast to like just smash through all those rocks. And you'll figure out like, wow, even like not straight lining that section, I'm still like pacing at like my PR for this segment is still the same, because then in the spots where you can like lay down the heat, like the power, you make up for it there, and so it's just really interesting. And it makes like I said, makes your trail system brand new again. So if you're feeling like you're getting tired of riding your trail system, like maybe you need a bike with less travel.
Exactly. I agree 100%. So even here in Colorado, we have so many trails here, and just like you said, shorter travel bikes, it just makes you ride different. It makes that super mellow trail that you've already dominated, hit everything you usually normally would on, like a little bit more exciting. So
so I mean, you guys have everything from little push bikes as well, like
basically 12-inch Ramones little push bike. We have that in 12 and 14-inch, and then goes all the way up. So no matter how old you are or what bike you're looking for, we got it. So, and that's kind of
whole thing. You guys have like fully decked out, like full suspension bikes that are this the 24-inch wheels? Yeah, it looks like it. 20 even 20-inch wheels.
Yep. Yeah. Class 20, 24. Then we have the junior, a full 26, which is kind of bringing back that a little bit, kind of bridging that gap between what you had the 24, then the junior, which was 24-inch, and then up to a 27.5. And now we have the Clash extra small, which is kind of it's a mullet with 27.5, 26. So a little bit different. And I mean, kids love them, man. Like parents are stoked on them because it develops their skills so much quicker. And a lot of the parents can bring their kids on a lot of the same trails that they're going on. And now a lot of getting on these full suspension bikes and overtaking mom and dad. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy watching. I mean, honestly, like some people, I would say people that aren't riders, like they would be like, man, you're going to spend like $1,500 on a kid's bike. And I think that it really does make such a huge difference to what their ability can be. And, if it's something that you really enjoy, I think there's, you could spend $1,500 on video games pretty easy too. You know what I mean? They just get you at like $40 a pop or whatever. I don't even know how much a video game costs anymore.
I'm not a video game, I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's like I think it really makes a big difference for children to be able to have like a fully functional bike nowadays compared to, in the past, basically you couldn't ride a good bike until you were big enough to fit on like a 26-inch wheel,
Exactly. Yeah.
So
and depending on these trails that these parents are wanting to take their kids on, again, like say a bike park specifically, it's like, you could take a kid to Trestle. Trestle's a pretty mellow mountain, but has a little bit of everything. And then so you can get away with pretty much riding anything there. But then you take your kid again, like to Angel Fire Bike Park. That place is rough as hell, dude. And like, you aren't going to be, flatting your tires every 10 feet on the rocks or breaking a derailleur, this and that. So the quality that these kids' bikes are made with now, and even in the suspension, like it's properly tuned suspension for their weight. For kids under 100 pounds, right around 100 pounds, a bit lower, it's like, they can get a properly working bike that they can, again, learn on, develop on. And a lot of families that have numerous kids, they'll buy the oldest son or girl this one, and then it just falls down the line to the younger brother or sister, and just keeps going. And they sell it for, make some money to the neighbor down the street. They're stoked. And so it works out.
Yeah. Those kids' bikes, they tend to hold their value pretty pretty well. I mean,
Yes, they do.
comparatively, you know, and
They
I
hold it
think
more than
that, yeah. And shoot, what was I just gonna say? Oh, the other thing too is like it's really good that they get the ability to start learning on a real shifter, on a real dropper, like you know what I mean, like and learning all that muscle memory and how to do all of those things at once, compared to, you know, some bikes in the past where it's like, oh, these are just grip shifts and there's no dropper, and it's so by the time they're getting to that age where like more adolescence where their skill set really just starts like really ramping up, they're
Yeah.
not having to learn that stuff too, where they've learned, you know, so much of that like basics that is it's kind of like things that you would take for granted as a rider. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely, and it becomes second nature to them.
Yeah.
And even from a racing standpoint, it's, you know, once you're into the World Cup, so you have your 2 years of junior when you're 16, 17, and 17, 18, it's like you need to have all these skills honed in pretty much by the time you're like 12, 13 years old. And then
Yeah.
you start the racing development stage from then until you're 16. And that's even like part of my job. That's part of my job, is finding these kids that are around that age that we can start working with. We sign and we start helping develop them. So by the time they're first year junior on the World Cup stage, like they're put into it's a familiar world for them. Obviously, it's the world stage and it's a bit different, but we're trying to, you know, get them over to Europe earlier
Mhm.
and get them training on faster, steeper, more gnarlier terrain, and working with our teams. And so once, you know, say like you know, Thibaut Deprella or anyone like that comes out and, you know, with us in the junior comes out swinging, and
Mhm.
then develop that into the big stage. And that's one thing that I work with Austin Dooley. I started
Mhm.
working with Austin. We're going on 4 years now that him and I have
Yeah.
been working together, and now, you know, he's having, you know, good success on the World Cup stage and still with us. And so it's cool to see that. And again,
Yeah,
and
it's crazy how young, like the whole how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so quite a fair bit younger than me, but like it's crazy how young the kids are nowadays, and like like a 12, 13-year old kid that was getting into mountain biking when I was young was like probably more like the normal age. And you're
Yeah.
starting to see so much more. Like I have a friend of mine, his buddy or his son is like 6, and he's out there putting in like 10-mile rides at 6 years old. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's nuts,
Like
man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that little kid has like no fear. So it's like you just think about him by the time he's going to be 16, it's just going to be just insane, like where his skill set's going to be, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool, man. It's like nervous in a way to see how fast and good young kids are right now.
Hmm.
And even the generation below them, it's just going to keep growing and growing every year. And even me at 31, like I feel like such an old dog now.
Yeah,
But then the reality of it, it's like I'm really not. But
yeah.
like talking to these kids and they're saying all these like slogans, everything off TikTok and whatever, that I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm like, dude, I feel so old right now, like traveling around with all you little groms.
Oh
Crazy.
man, believe me, my daughter is in college right now, and it's like some of the shit she says, I'm like, really? I'm like, now I know what it felt like to be the parents
Yeah.
when I was like that age.
Yeah, right? You're just like, "Oh, yeah, don't even know half the stuff they say."
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you're saying. Like, and I feel like I'm pretty in touch with like what's going on. I'm like I don't know. Feel like I'm a pretty like trendy person, you know, like, and plus
Yeah,
I work in IT. So usually like a lot of
yeah.
like, you're a little bit like more up on like what the memes are, the thing, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that industry, you know, you
Mhm.
kind of catch that stuff a little earlier. And yeah,
Yeah,
now I'm like, oh, I'm starting, I guess I'm falling behind. This is how it happens.
falling off, man.
Right. So you mentioned mullet earlier.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys do on all of your frames or just certain ones?
Just certain ones. So I was like the V5, the new V5 is mullet. We did have like only the XL was 29.29, but now
Mhm.
this year all across the board is mullet. And then we have, you know, the Meta SX, which is, you know, longer travel trail bike that is mullet 29.27.5. And then going into the new Clash extra small, which is that mullet as well. So it's just something for, especially for the shorter riders, getting a little bit smaller wheel in the back, a little bit lower standover height. And whenever you are on, the steeper or other terrain does help that front end sit up just a little bit more for them. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of been the trend over the past few years with mullet, and everyone seems to be trying it, this and that. It's for me, it's still kind of a personal preference with a lot of it. I prefer the bigger wheels, 29, but again, being 6'3", I have no issues getting off the back on steeper terrain. But on certain tracks and certain terrain, I see the benefit of a mullet.
Yeah.
Even on again being a taller person. So I think it's definitely around. It's here to stay for sure for a good while. Again,
I think it's the only thing that's going to keep 27.5 alive, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I agree. The kids bikes and then the mullet setups.
Yeah, and I say that I'm 6'2", so it's not like I'm a short guy, but I've definitely been one of those people that has held out on the smaller wheel all along. Like even when 27 or when 29 like first came out, was it 27.5 first? Was it like a short moment of 650B and then they went 29? Yeah. And I remember when that first happened, I was like, I just liked how much more like how I could like navigate a 26 better, And then I tried a 29er and I just felt like it tanked everything. And I think that had to do with more of the geometry back then. It just wasn't that good. Like I felt like the bike would choose its line a little bit more than me. But then with the 27.5, I was like, okay, well, I feel like I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. Like I can get that like real twitchy movement that I need and some like slow tech or whatever, but like
definitely
still get that rollover. And it wasn't until just recently that I've started to like really warm up to 29ers, but I feel like it's because they finally got like those chain stays like super short where it doesn't feel like so big. That's the best way I can explain it. And maybe that's
and everything's kind of coming back. Like we were just like going so big for a long time, and now everything's kind of like, all right, I think we went a little too much. And now it's kind of starting to get back a little bit because it was really starting to hindrance the performance of the bike. Now the bike handled. And I was actually just having this conversation last night with my mom actually, and we were talking about racing back in the day, this and that. And a guy, Alex Morgan, who's from Amarillo, he was making his own downhill frames, BCD bikes, Buffalo Carbon Design, but he was making 29er downhill bikes, and this was like early 2000s. He was running XC tires. He was shaving off the crown of the old gray Fox 40 so he could fit a 29er wheel in there. And this guy was like racing World Cups and holding hot seats at World Cups on these carbon bikes that he was making in his garage. And he was so far above his time, and he made full 29s, he made mullet setups, and he was just like running what he could find. Again, like cross country tires. Like you couldn't find a downhill 29er tire back then.
Right.
So it's just like crazy that people were doing it back then, but everyone's just like, no, it's not going to do it. Now we look at modern day downhill bikes and everything out there is 29 or 27.5 or the geometry of them. His bikes were getting, obviously they were still small compared to a modern day bike, but for back then they were huge, long, longer chain stays, longer top tubes, slacker head tube angles. People were doing it back then. They just weren't.
I'm really feeling like I'm leaning heavy into the mullet. So my next bike is definitely going to be a mullet. I'm kind of playing around with a few different frames right now. I'm trying to figure out what I want to ride, and I feel like they've got that. I feel like they got something pinned there, like at least for like what I personally like. And like you said, I mean, it's a preference thing. It's not like this is the best, it's really like, what are you into, man?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like suspension setups, man. Like you can find a good base setting for everyone, but then everyone's going to start tuning it different ways. And like you go up on Omri's bike, like you can't ride that thing for 30 seconds. It's so stiff but it's built for him. Then you go ride, someone else's bike and you're like, oh, this actually feels good. So
that's the one thing where it's like, people have to remember that their recommendations, like you are allowed to have an opinion that's different than the recommendation. Like
for sure.
Like I run my fork way softer than what it should be for somebody my size. And when I tell other guys my size, they're like, what? And I'm like, that's just the way I like it to feel, man. It's like, that's it,
For sure.
So
Yeah. But people see like the recommended settings, the trendy settings, stiffer, faster, this,
yeah,
that. But it's like, yeah, stiffer in reality. But yeah, it is faster theoretically over stuff. But if you can't handle the bike and you still aren't in tune with the bike, like it's not going to be faster for you. So
yeah,
even, from tire pressures to wheels, even with us, like
yeah.
you run different spoke tensions on different riders' wheels from drive side, non-drive, and getting a little bit more compliance out of the wheel to, and when with the tire, because tire is the first thing that hit, that is in between you and the ground. That has to be very important. So from
Yeah,
there to
yeah,
the wheels to the suspension to the frame to everything. So
yeah. I want to touch back on that guy you were talking about, the BCD guy, and
yeah,
how he was like so out there. And it's funny because historically there's always somebody doing something like kind of crazy like that everybody is just looking at like, man, what's wrong with this dude? That ends up becoming the norm. Like,
yeah,
in the 70s, whenever these dudes were, taking these old bikes and smashing them down the hill and, up in Repack in Fairfax, California. And that's like the beginning of mountain biking, right? And then
yeah.
you have this dude that's like, building these carbon 29ers that are like way ahead of the time. And it makes you wonder, like, what is it right now? Like, is it that like super high reverse stem that like right now we're all like balking at, and like 15
Yeah,
years from now, that's gonna be like, we're gonna be like, dude, he was so on it,
yeah. Dude, who knows, man? Like I
Yeah.
said, just like how the kids are getting faster, the bikes are getting faster, everything's developing so fast in the industry. And it's like where it's going to be in 3, 5, 10 years from now. It's just like, I have
Yeah.
no idea. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of along for the
So
ride.
how
And
do you guys do the mullet on your bike? Is it just a flip chip, or is it like some other piece? I don't know how else you would do it, but
so our bikes that are come mullet, they are the frame is designed around a mullet. So
oh, okay.
from the length, the lengths, the rear end, chain stays, wheel pad, everything. It's
Hmm.
designed around a mullet wheel. So like in the old V4, like you could fit a 29er in there, but
Hmm.
it completely changes how the bike's going to ride.
Hmm.
So, so all of our bikes, they are designed around a 27.5 wheel. On the
Okay.
V5, you have the flip trip on the lower shock bolt, front, rear, high, low, everything. Even the on the rear end has 3 different positions you can run on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything is designed around a mullet wheel.
Mhm.
So, and
So
you
then
can,
the same thing when you're in the enduro space, it's one or the, I thought, because isn't the SX, the Meta SX, isn't that like 29 or?
so no, that one is full mullet.
Mhm.
Again, we have seen people put a 29 in there, but again, that frame itself is designed around a mullet wheel. And
Got
then
it.
the TR, which is the shorter travel 29er version of that, there is subtle changes to that frame to where you still get the riding performance that we're looking for, but with that bigger
Mhm.
wheel.
So then you do have a flip chip though in some of the frames that's just
Mhm.
changing what?
Hiring and lowering the bottom bracket basically, then slackening the head tube by just slightly. So,
Mhm.
in the new model metas, we have that flip chip on that rear shock bolt there.
Mhm. So
Um,
just to drop it down a little bit too.
yep.
So can you explain what that does to the ride for people that aren't familiar?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, it's like, so take the TR, modern day TR, full 29, 140 in the rear, 160 or 150 up front, kind of depending on where you're at, what your riding style is. So you just have that little chip that goes right through that rear shock bolt, and you have a high and a low setting. And basically what that's changed, just the feel of the bike, and having it, again, it's kind of a personal preference. I always ran that at high. I like that. And with that, it sits you a little bit higher in the travel. It's a little less supple off the top end. I run my bikes pretty stiff,
Mhm.
but fine tuning that with the shocks to still get that, small bump sensitivity there. And then lowering it, lowers the BB just slightly, slackens the head tube just a little bit. So it's very subtle chain differences that it makes to the bike, but it's just kind of one of those things. We offer it, and we say for people just to go out and try it, start playing with it, see
Mhm.
what works best for you. As well as, like I said, in the V5, I mean, even on the bridge, on the rear end, on the seat stays, you can get different stiffness bridges for whatever you are. So even if you're a short rider, the short or the small frame comes with a soft. But if
Mhm.
you're a heavier set short guy, you can get the small frame, get a stiffer bridge in the rear, so you still again get that stiffness in the rear end whenever you are for cornering and the feel of the bike. So you just kind of start tuning it a little bit more to your riding style.
Yeah. Some companies also will use a chip for like changing the seats, or not the seat stay, the chainstay lengths as well. Do you guys do that, or?
We have, yeah. So not too much. Nowadays we've kind of found that chainstay that we've tested and that we feel is the best performing links for each bike. So, but yeah, we have done it, and still thoughts of things that we play with and everything.
Yeah.
So,
I wasn't sure. Is there a reason that you have a line that's called Meta? Like, what's the?
I will be completely honest with you, and I'm not for sure on that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Where
I was
that
just
name?
wondering. I was like, does that mean something, like some kind of like
Yeah,
race thing or something like that, or that's just
I am
that's
not for sure. Yeah, the Meta
right
has
on.
been in the line for so long, even before I've been with the brand. I started 2018. But yeah, the name Meta, I don't know. I should know that, but
I feel like
maybe
it's
not.
an acronym or something like that. You know what I mean?
Could be. I'm sure we could find
Probably.
it
We just
somewhere.
make one up.
But there's like so many Meta things going on too. Like Meta, there's a magazine, and then
Yeah.
Facebook now has something with Meta. It was Instagram, one of those two.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's what Facebook changed their like parent company to. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's something, and I know we've gotten contacted about the name Meta. I don't know exactly what's gone on with that, but we have gotten contacted about the name Meta and the development.
Oh man, that would suck, dude. They got hella lawyers too. You know, that's one of those things where they just like they're like, we'll spend $3 million on this. We don't even care.
Yeah, we're just like, have it, dude. It's awesome.
Right.
We'll change the name. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. So, oh, shoot, I lost my train of thought on that. Oh, I wanted to ask. I saw on the website that it's Commencal bike and ski. Where'd the ski part come from?
So basically, we're all snowboarders and skiers in the winter. The Endora, the office is at the base of the ski resort, and one of the guys, head of our media department, Nico Brazin, he's comes from the snowboard industry years ago, and he kind of wanted to start, developing skis. And again, everyone skis there and everyone skis here. I mean, at all of our places, even Squamish, it's right next to Whistler, we're Colorado. So it was just kind of a fun project. And we initially started with Faction skis. So we had a close relationship with them. We basically had their two models, the Prodigy 3 and the Dictator, that they're kind of more of an all mountain ski, and then a backcountry ski, big mountain ski. And then kind of designed our top and bottom sheets on that, did that for about 2 years, and then basically started designing our own and shaping everything. And so now we're kind of a full blown on skis and boards. Like we have 2 split boards now, one normal snowboard, and then all of our ski line. And the names of the skis go along with our bikes. So we have the Supreme on the bike, the Supreme on the ski, which is in your big mountain, kind of bomb everything fast as you can. Nice. And we have the Clash, one step down, the Meta, the Tempo, the Absolute, which is our park ski. And so it's been a fun project. We haven't done too much marketing around it. We are still a bike brand.
Yeah,
heart and skis, it's just a fun project that we're doing, and we're still developing it. We're still working on things and getting feedback from everyone. We just did a review with Backcountry that's going to get released soon on the both split boards, the Meta and the Tempo. So that's kind of how that became what it is. And maybe we'll have a whole department for it soon. So, but right now it's still pretty small.
I think that there's a really good crossover there, because I mean, I think that a lot of people that are into mountain biking, let's just call it more of an adrenaline sport, or like also like an endurance sport too, where like people that are in skiing as well, you'll have, the lift people, just like you do on mountain bikes, but you also have the people that are like, hey, I want to go out there and like hike up to the top of this peak and get this like super sick path down.
Exactly.
And so with a lot of the climate at places where people are riding, it's like, wintertime snow. So it makes a lot of sense. Honestly, it's pretty ingenious to have that brand like be both,
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's slowly starting to gain traction with people. We have a few ski athletes that we're working with over in France, and actually got a first podium over here in Copper with him. Yeah, this winter and B1KER. And so it's, like I said, we aren't trying to rush it. It's just, we're just taking the time, taking the development of it, learning a lot on it. And everyone seems to be digging them. So do you ski or snowboard?
Yeah, I do, man. I used to that used to be the way I was, like ski all winter, like as much as I freaking could, and mountain bike in the summertime. And after moving to California, there was a year where like we just got no snow. I don't remember what it was, but and like the snow that we had wasn't great or whatever. And for whatever reason that year, I ended up mountain biking like almost all winter. And ever since then, I just haven't skied as much, because it was like, I think it was my brain finally realized, like, wait a minute, I don't actually, like, I can keep riding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
We have pretty rad weather out here, but yeah, no, I definitely enjoy it a lot. Last year I went with a buddy, and I hadn't been in a while. Like, I felt bad. I went out and bought like a new set of skis like 3 years ago, and I didn't even ride them for like 2 years. It was like, this is ridiculous,
Yeah.
And no, it's definitely, it's a lot of fun. And I think it's that, like I said, it's that same thing. I definitely have like a different vibe when I'm on skis. Like, I'd say like mountain biking, I'm more like serious while I'm riding, and then like all beers and party afterwards. And like when I'm skiing, I'm like, no, it's cool. We can just dash beer all over the mountain and go out here and do stupid shit.
9 a.m. first lap, you're like, oh, cool, crack a beer. Right. It's like golf. There's no rules when you're at a golf course. It's just
right. You're like, oh no, I got 3 beers stashed over here next to this tree, and then I got 2 down on the bottom. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's super fun, man. I really enjoy it, and it's definitely something where it's just like, man, the price of skiing has gone up so much, where I feel like if you don't buy a season pass now, it's almost like you don't want to go but like once or twice, because it's I don't know. I don't know where, like Denver, but like out here, some of the resorts are like $180 for a single day lift ticket.
Oh, dude, that's on the cheap side.
Right?
Here, like Vail, Keystone, Breckenridge, Winter Park, all those, they were like well over 200, like 250, 260 sometimes. I forgot what resort it was this year that hit $300. It's the first resort worldwide to ever reach $300. It was like 301 or 302, something like that.
I just don't understand like, how is it that much,
Dude, it makes absolutely no sense. Like, I was just in actually Winter Park throughout this last week with my family. They were up visiting, and we were having the same conversation. And I worked at Winter Park and Trestle for a long time. And for a family of 4 to come up from Denver, it's just a 1-hour drive. And if you're having to do ski rentals, your lodging, your food, your lessons, everything, I mean, you're well over into the thousands, like $4,000 or $5,000 sometimes.
Yeah,
for
it's insane.
For like peak season, because lodging for some of these places are $500 plus a night.
Yeah,
and then the rentals are, depending on what package you get, $150, $200.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Crazy.
Because, like, I mean, let's just think, like, God, I feel like I'm so old when I say this shit. When I first moved back from Europe, I used to live in Europe. We were skiing the Alps for like $35 a lift ticket, right? And I remember I came back to the States, and it was like 40 for Tahoe, and I was like, $40. I was skiing the fucking Alps for, like, and let's just say minimum wage then was probably like, I don't know, man, maybe like $6 an hour or something like that. So you would say like that 4 times that amount. I guess it was, damn, I just worked it out to make sense. I'm like, and that's almost $200 a lift ticket now. I'm like, son of a bitch. I guess that
adds up. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Because like, I was thinking like, oh man, like what is minimum wage now? It's like $15 an hour or something like that. So
yeah, I think something around there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I guess, man, I don't know. It's just like, it just seems ludicrous to think about, like,
and half these people, like, they're gonna go take like 2 runs in the morning, and then they're like, oh, I'm cold, I'm over it. And they just go straight to the bar anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, yeah. It's funny because, like, to me, it would, like, when I was younger, it'd be all about as many laps as you could possibly get. You're like, no, I'm not eating. If you're eating, you like had a sandwich in your backpack so that you could eat
Oh,
while
for
you're on
sure.
the lift. You know, it's just like smash freaking runs all day long. And
Yeah, you got
now,
some pocket bacon, PB&J,
right,
and you freaking
right.
oh, some
We
beef.
used to go to these places too that would have like you could just go a little bit later because you maybe stayed up too late partying, and you go clip somebody's pass on their way out and just
Yeah.
throw it on your jacket and go. And it's like now everything's all electronic and shit like that. You're like, I don't even know if you can do that anymore.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And even like at resorts, even it's like parking is now
Yeah.
such a hassle. And here in Denver, like it's basically one main way up to the resort, one way down on from Denver. And if
Uh-huh.
you aren't leaving your house here by, I would say like 5 a.m. at the latest to go 1 hour for the resort to open at 9,
Mhm.
you're going to be, if you leave at like 5:36, you're going to be sitting in well over 2+ hours, sometimes even 3 hours of traffic
Oh
just to
my
get
God.
1 hour up the road to go ski. And then by the time you get to the resort, then like there's no parking. So you have to park in town. Then you got to get the shuttle to ski. Then you don't want to ski all day because you're going to be hitting traffic coming back home for 3+ hours. So you want to leave by like 1 or 2. So it's not even
Yeah.
worth it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's back to bikes. What would you say your most popular your like bike is that you sell? Is it something in the enduro range or more in the trail or downhill or
I would say for us more so. I mean, obviously we're known on the gravity side. If you go to a downhill race anywhere, like even at World Cups, a
Mhm,
lot of the privateers are on Supremes because I mean,
mhm,
it's a race winning bike that is affordable, as
mhm,
well as we have race support, race tech support at World Cup. So a privateer can go get help with his frame, this and that.
mhm,
So we definitely sell a lot of downhill bikes, but I would say the most sold one probably are trail bikes like Meta
mhm,
TR, Meta SX. That's definitely the kind of, especially nowadays, people just kind of want a one bike do all, or maybe
mhm,
have their big downhill bike and then they just want the single crown to do everything.
mhm.
So yeah, something like I said, Meta TR, Meta SX kind of fills the gap
So is
between.
the TR that's kind of like your enduro, and then TR stands for like trail or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah,
Or
yeah. So TR stands for trail, 140 in the rear, 150 is said, or 160 up front, depending on which one you want
Mhm.
to run with it.
Yeah, so good
Um,
middle of the road trail bike. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, go on long rides with it. I mean, take it to the bike park if you want. So I would say
Mhm,
that's probably our most sold, and then still a
mhm,
lot of e-bikes, a lot of kids' bikes, of course, and getting into the gravel world now as
mhm.
well. So
I was going to ask you about that because
yep.
I saw you have more like kind of an urban bike that's more of like a flat bar looking. Trying to explain to people listening, like
Yeah, kind of like
basically it looks like a
commuter.
fixie with gears, you know?
Pretty much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like the commuter, the FCB, which is
Mhm.
the fast city bike, is what it translates
Nice.
to. So yeah, just the kind of hippie dude that just wants to
Right.
ride
So
his
you
bike.
guys are in the process though of coming out with a gravel?
Yep. Yeah, so it's called the 365. It's been on
Mhm.
social media a little bit, and it'll like official release, kind of done here soon. But yeah, but full
Mhm.
on gravel bike. So kind of slowly getting into that realm. Again, we are a gravity company, but there is a
Yeah.
market for that, especially here. The gravel scene is huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting to work on that side of it, development of those. So and that's a new world for me. I'm not a big gravel guy. Like I ride road a lot during the winter
Mhm.
just for training stuff, but
Yeah.
gravel, I couldn't tell you one thing about the gravel
Yeah.
side.
I
So I'm
have a
kind of
gravel
learning
bike.
as we go.
Yeah, I have a gravel bike. I ride it a lot, but I ride it more like a road bike than I would like
Yeah.
to say I ride it like a gravel bike. But to me, I really like the ability to kind of have the ability to do road or some like light trail stuff with the same bike and not have
Yeah,
to
for
like
sure.
I'm not a roadie, you know what I mean? So like that bike's I could throw slicks on it if I wanted to, you know what I mean? Or I
Mhm.
can keep the knobbies on and they don't really slow me down much to tell you the truth. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm doing it like you said, mostly to just get some kind of different kind of training. You know, it's real easy to leave my house and go do a 2-hour ride from my door and be back at my house again
Yeah.
compared to mountain biking. I have to drive for like 45 minutes, you know?
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, and for here, like once the snow kind of starts melting in, melting a lot of the trails and getting there. So
Mhm.
that's where the gravel road bike comes into play. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like from your lineup, it's really the only, I mean, other than a road bike, but it's really like the only thing that you don't really have. I mean, like we were talking, you have the kids
Mhm.
bikes and everything like that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like I said, it's been our guys over in Europe that is developing this. Like they are big in the gravel side, so
mhm,
they know what they're doing. They're working with a few gravel specific kind of athletes on the development of it, the prototypes, everything.
mhm.
So it's getting done right. It's getting done well. So yeah, I'm excited for it though. It'll be fun.
So you were
So
saying the Meta TR is more of the trail, and then what is the Meta SX?
so that SX is that mullet version, longer travel. 165 in the rear, 170 trail bike. So
Mhm,
kind of that guy that's not going to be, I would say that bike was raced on a lot of EWSs by the EWS team for many years.
mhm,
Um, but for the guy, especially here that like may not pedal as much on the front range, still wants to go on a long pedal, like have a good time in that. But
mhm.
most of the guy that just wants a longer travel, single crown at the bike park, kind of
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people buy that bike for. As well as the Clash as well. Clash is full 27.5, 165, 180.
Mhm.
So
You
that's kind
still
of
sell
the
that, or
do what?
you still sell that? Oh yeah, it is on there. Clash.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's just basically like the little brother to the Furious that
Uh-huh.
we have, which the Furious free ride downhill bike. What Brett Reeder won at Rampage this year. Call Straits ran it for years. All of our guys, Andreu. So
Mhm.
and then the Clash is just a single crown version of the Furious. So that's what a lot of people are riding bike parks on these days because they a little bit more nimble, a little bit more versatile than a full on downhill rig.
Mhm. You said that's
Um,
a 27.5?
yep.
Oh, right on. So you guys are still doing both then, 27.5 and 29er bikes.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, no, the Clash is super fun, man. Honestly, it's like one of my favorite bikes that I've owned. And this, I had it set up kind of like full park mode. We have one now. It's called the Clash Ride, or Park Edition. Seven
Uh-huh.
speed drivetrain, no dropper. Just kind of built for that kind of diehard bike park only, not going to
Mhm.
pedal kind of a guy.
Yeah, yeah. You guys have a pretty good like the way that you can build it's not just like, hey, this is exactly how it's set up. You can change a bit
Yeah.
of things on there, right?
Yeah, for sure. On the a la carte, the ALC program, you
Mhm.
just let it click what frame you want, and then you can build a full, complete bike just how you want it on there. Or if you have a few parts at home that you already have from, I don't know, older bikes or new parts, you don't have to say if you already have a drivetrain, cool, you can build the frame up with everything except the drivetrain. We'll build it up or put everything in the box for you, and then when it gets to your house, you just put on your drivetrain that you want, and
Yeah.
you're good to
That's
go.
super rad, man. I
So,
honestly think more companies should do that because
yeah,
there's certain things where it's like, hey, let's just say you buy this bike and you're like, well, I don't like that Fox Air Shock, and I'm gonna put a EXT on it,
yeah.
and that air shock's gonna go back on the bike when you sell it, and now you're gonna try to buy something else and have to spend that extra money just again for like something that you don't even really want to use. So
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you can fully customize what you want, buy what you want. So makes it a little bit more customizable for the consumer.
yeah,
So
yeah. So that's kind of like your big, or we kind of went through those bigger bikes, and then is there something in between like the trail bike and the tempo, or is the
for right now, we have the like I said the Meta SX TR, and then now the Tempo for that.
okay.
We did do still offer the AM. This is pretty much the last year for that. It was
Uh-huh.
a little bit a full 29er in
Mhm.
between the TR and the SX. So
Mhm.
we had a lot of models, and we're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
condensing it all, kind of
Yeah.
finding the best of both worlds and all the bikes, kind of simplifying things a little bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, so like I said, so it did have the AM again, which is just a little bit longer travel, is 150 in the rear, 160 up
Got it,
front.
got it.
So yeah, so that's kind of going away. Then the two new models of the Tempo, or the Tempo and the Meta V5 is kind of
Mhm.
bridging that gap for those.
If I remember correctly, the Tempo has the new UDH hanger on it, right?
Yep. Correct.
Does but not all the rest of your bikes have that yet?
Not yet. We're it's kind of a process working on right now.
Uh-huh.
So,
When do
but
you
which is
think?
good. I'm all for that thing, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially there's just so many different hangers, different models for every bike. It's gonna simplify things much
Yeah,
better.
no, it'll definitely be nicer. And honestly, everything that I've seen about the SRAM transmission, and it just answers so many, or like solves so many little problems that I have with shifting, that always comes down to. It's like, yeah, my hanger might not be like bent, but I'm going to go out, I'm going to smash through some rocks. It's going to ding it a little bit where it's like always one gear that I just can't quite get right. You know what I mean? And
one gear is always unhappy with it.
yeah, right. And it
A
just
little
seems
bit.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
So,
excited I'm going to build my next bike with that transmission. I'm really
oh yeah.
excited about trying it. It's honestly, I
Have you
haven't
felt
been that stoked about trying something new for a while, but like, oh man, I always am like, it sucks, dude. Like you'll go out, you'll like build this, brand new bike and first or second ride, you like clip some rock or something like that. And it's like, you can never get it to like perfect. At least I can. I guess I'm just not a very good mechanic.
Oh, dude, it's tough. Like, have you felt the new SRAM?
I haven't yet. Have you?
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. It's
so
nice. I mean, it is very expensive, but the stuff's good, man. It is.
Have you ridden it?
Mm-hmm.
So what my biggest concern is that they said it shifts a little slower. Is it do you feel like you could like dump your gears fast enough when you're like, oh shit, climb, or like, man, I want to get to the 10 tooth,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I no complaints on it. Honestly.
So you didn't notice anything.
Yeah, I've ran Axis for a long time, and that's runs really well, normal, and tests out from TRP, Shimano, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, this stuff is really nice. I mean, there is just like the slightest delay with anything you're gonna have with wireless, but I mean, you don't even really notice it. Like you'll be in a parking lot. One of my buddies that worked at SRAM when I first tried it, he was like, dude, just hop on my bike, just start sprinting as hard as you can, and just run through the gears. Just start hammering on it, and everything was just so perfect, just going right down the line and then coming right back up. Didn't skip a beat, and I'm just hammering on the pedals.
Oh wow,
no issues.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, so it is nice stuff. I gotta admit, they killed it.
Yeah. Everything I've heard has just been like right in line with what you said. So, and then you watch a bunch of guys like out on YouTube or whatever, like standing on top of it and getting up, and it's still shifting fine. And I'm like, oh my God, I will pay whatever it is. I don't even care. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, for real. Yeah.
And honestly, whenever I looked at the pricing, like if you're looking at the XO, for example, or even the XX for that matter, and you break out all those parts at, that same level. So like you can't compare the price of an XO drivetrain to like a GX and be like, oh, it's so expensive. You know what I mean? It's like, but if you bought the crank and all that all together, all separately, it's like, dude, it sucks to buy it all at once like that, but it's not too bad, and with SRAM, it'll be a year, maybe two tops. There's going to be a GX version and then an NX version, so like
it's good. Like, it'll probably come.
Yeah. People just like bitching and crying right away, and you're like, come on, man. They're going to bring out the top of the line first, and then you're going to get you don't start like with you're like, hey, I'm going to bring out the base model and then build up,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I'm still like I run an XO shifter with a GX derailleur. Like works just fine. It's cost effective for everyone. If you blow one up, cool, sounds good. They're so cheap. Toss it right on there, good to go again. But in the shifter, like the XO is a good bit better than the GX. So I did baller on a budget kind of style on that.
Yeah. And even with the shifters, like the XO shifter though is not much more expensive.
No, it's really not. No.
Yeah. It's not like the cassette, for example. I mean, the difference between a GX cassette and an XX cassette in price is just like ridiculous. You know what I mean? But like with the shifter, it's like, okay, one of them's like $35 and the other one's like 60. You're like, okay, it's not like, breaking the bank.
No, I just order a few less to your craft beers and
right.
Go buy some Coors Light, drink some real beer.
Right. Exactly. So I want to talk about your e-bike too. So how long's that been out?
Quite a while. And now we're already working on a new generation, new model of it. It's going to be coming out soon. Dude, the e-bikes are great, man. We've first released them, I think it was like 3 years ago, maybe 4 now. Maybe wrong on that, but yeah, they're awesome. I actually just built myself a brand new one that's sitting in the garage that I've yet to ride. yeah, we're all about them. I had the Shimano system, and then like I said, we have a few new models in the line that we're, like I said, just about to release. Actually,
Right.
I think next week, I believe,
Oh,
online.
sweet.
So yeah, so there'll be some new stuff coming out. So keep an eye out for that. But
So right now you have, I mean, it looks like a handful of different versions. So is it like
mhm.
a longer travel, a shorter travel, or kind of
Yep,
what's the lineup look like?
it's pretty much the same as our normal bike. So you got the Nomada Power TR, and same as the normal TR, just with the e-bike, the Nomada SX. Still longer travel, mullet setup there. We have the Max, which is hardtail, kind of that commuter mellow trail kind of a
Hmm.
one, kind of there, as well as a kids e-bike too. So
Oh wow.
that's been a really good hit, and especially for here, a lot of the climbs are really pretty steep and long, and
Hmm.
it's allowed kids to go out on trail rides with their parents, in evenings, and I mean, because even when you're that young, like you just haven't developed the muscle
Yeah.
yet to pedal like up some of these climbs, and
Man, I
the
didn't
parents
even
get
think
their
about
kid the
that.
e-bike,
Yeah, yeah.
and they get on the e-bike, and the kids are and the parents will ride their normal bike,
Right.
and kids are right there with them, right on their tail, and it's pretty cool to watch.
That's actually pretty rad. I have
Yeah.
not thought about that in terms of like a good market for the e-bikes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of them, we actually start filming a project on Monday, but with the e-bikes as well, and even some of the kids' e-bikes, like the dads and the e-bikes pulling their kids up a lot of the shuttle trails here.
Hmm.
If it's just them two riding, they'll pull, dad will have the e-bike, and then the kid will, have a big bungee, and dad's pulling them up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I was
so
riding
that's really
UC
cool.
in Santa Cruz a couple months
Oh
ago
yeah,
with one of my buddies, and he had his e-bike, and he was pulling me up the hill. I was like, and we were both big dudes. I mean, you met me in person. I'm like
yeah,
245. My buddy's probably damn close to my same size, and that bike that just freaking taking us up the hill. I was like, this is pretty rad.
yeah. That's climbing done right, man.
Right, right.
Yeah, but
So
yeah, we're all
your
about it.
bigger one, like what kind of range do you get with that?
So it's the Shimano EP8. And so it's, I mean, you can get, I would say, I mean, if you're full boost, you know, nonstop climbing straight, like, I mean, you can still get, a couple hour ride with it.
Hmm.
Usually I'll go out, I usually keep it on eco mode, sometimes trail,
Hmm.
and just to get a little bit more longevity out of the battery. But I'm gonna go do 3-4+ hour rides on it
Hmm.
on one battery life.
Hmm.
And there's the lower watt ones. Like I know Specialized came out. I forgot what model it is, but I think it's like a
Hmm.
little 300 watt, this and that. And I don't know. Me personally, I think an e-bike should stay an e-bike. A normal bike, Acousto bike should stay a normal bike.
Hmm.
You get any e-bike, like when there's certain people and brands are trying to make them too close together, I think.
Yeah, like you
And
have a Pivot right now, like SL. I think that's what it is, the Pivot SL, and that thing's like 38 pounds, but I don't think it has quite as much like
no, it doesn't
juice,
have
you know.
exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have near the power as other e-bikes do. They run out much quicker. So I mean, if you're just needing it to get like a quick after work ride, like a quick little hour and a half loop, something like that, yeah, it like works
Yeah.
pretty good. But if you're wanting to go out and do a big day on the e-bike, especially here, getting up 14,000 plus feet on some of these climbs that
Yeah.
we do, and above tree line, like it takes a while to get up there,
Yeah.
and so like you're gonna run out immediately.
I think that's in
Yeah,
my head, like, and I don't have an e-bike, and I think that's probably the problem of why I have the opinion that I have right now. And like my mind, those smaller ones seem like they're more appealing to me because realistically, I've ridden one a couple of times and it just feels like I don't like the weight of it and the way that it feels on the downhill, and like my braking is, I'm sure they're all shit. It's shit that you get used to as you ride it.
yeah,
But in my head, I'm like, oh, that lighter one would be rad because then I could just like shoot up the freaking hill and then turn it off and then just smash normal down the hill. But I've heard a few people tell me like in those situations where like those smaller ones, the battery just, it doesn't last to do
yeah.
the day that you're kind of like imagining, you know?
Exactly. Like if you're just a really quick, short rides, I mean, it's perfect for you. It's great.
Yeah.
But again, if you're wanting to do a big day on the bike and cruise out there, especially when you're with a lot of buddies and like you all
Yeah.
have e-bikes, and then you're the only one that's on the lighter, less powerful, shorter bike. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
they're going to still keep going, busting out 10 plus laps at like one of our local spots.
Yeah.
And you just, you got a few and you got about half the amount in. And
Yeah.
then you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go get my normal bike now, and
yeah.
still not.
Yeah. So your recommendation would be get the biggest one that you can and
I think so.
And just like mentally separate it. Like this is analog day. This is like E day.
For sure. Yeah. And like the rule I've like made for myself is like, if I drain, like ride the e-bike on the weekends, it's like, party lap mode, and I don't recharge it until the next Friday night. So it forces me to ride my normal bike and train and everything during the week. So you're like, I just want to go hop on the e-bike. It's like, no, you got to ride your normal bike, then keep the e-bike for the weekends. Just me, my personal.
Yeah.
But
there's some guys that just leaned right in. I know this one dude, he just like sold all his analog bikes. He's like, I'm not touching it again. Like,
screw this, dude. I'm getting it as quick as I can. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I keep them fully separated. I think there should be a big separation there, but I know a lot of people probably disagree with me on that. But
yeah, I think it's like we were saying, it's really like what your personal preference is. I really enjoy that feeling of getting to the top of one of those huge mountains. Like we don't have 14, but we got close to 10 out here, and it's like you get up there on your own like power, and you're like, man, I really feel like I accomplished something,
Oh, for sure.
And that part I really enjoy about the analog side. But there's days that like our local spot where we go ride, and we'll be doing shuttle laps, and we have to have like 6 trucks to like make it work right, and and like maybe one of the people that we're with is on an e-bike, and we'll drive there faster, but by the time we unload and pedal over to the trail, like they'll be there. It's like, okay, well, is it really worth us driving 6 vehicles up all over the place and like doing all the shuttle math and
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And the logistics behind shuttling sometimes, and the guy doesn't show up that had the shuttle truck. Now you're having to rig up something. Yeah.
Or you have that one extra person, you're like, we were already sitting on each other's laps. I don't know like how this is gonna work, but we'll figure it out. Like
hop on the tailgate or something.
Right. Yeah. So it's just
said e-bikes are sick, like definitely a fan of them, but there's a time and place for it. And I kind of see them as skis as well. A lot of people around here, like you have your powder day ski, your groomer ski, your backcountry setup. I see it as just a bike that you add to your fleet. It's not going to, again, just for me personally, it's never going to replace my normal trail bike. There's a time and place for both of them. Dude, they're hell of a time.
Are you noticing it more there? Here, I've definitely started to notice that I feel like I see more e-bikers on a ride than I do analog riders.
At certain trail systems here, if it's a system that's like it's more just kind of busting out laps on it, kind of one main trail climb to the top 30-45 minutes, and you just do a lap, and then just all sorts of like the e-bikes are taking over hands down. But if it's the rides that are just more of the big, you're on one trail the whole time way back up in the hills, not near as much.
I think I definitely would say, now that you say it that way, I guess most of the backcountry stuff, the big rides that we do up in high altitude, you're only going to see like analog people there. But I think that's because like all the analog riders are the ones with the screws loose to go do that. But like if you go somewhere that's more the local spot, I've just noticed that it just seems to be more and more people, like the weekend warrior kind of spots, you know what I mean, where it's like those people are coming out and they're just buying they've sold their analog bikes and bought e-bikes, and they're now doing 3 laps of what they used to do one of.
For sure. It's there's a time and place for it. Like I said, we have one system here that like you can do 10 plus laps on an e-bike on some of the sickest trails you're going to ride in the area, when normally you would get like 4 or 5 on your normal bike. Before you're pretty smoked and you're feeling it.
Do you think that so you just get used to like braking different and kind of like throwing the bike around a little differently, like it's just like takes a little bit of time?
Exactly. It takes a little bit of time. Like there is obviously so much more weight to it than a normal bike, but where the weight is positioned, that's where a really well designed e-bike outperforms the other ones, is where they have the weight centered in the bike, in the bottom bracket, even with the battery, the position of the battery, all all that stuff with it, and where, the pivot points are of the design. That's where it like really starts coming in key on a really good e-bike. But yeah, it's just something to get used to, because it is very different. Definitely.
Yeah. I just remember the very first time that I did it, it was just every corner I was coming in way too hot, because I would be coming in like analog speed. And, like, I know I don't need to brake until like right here. And then I'd start braking and it'd be like, I'm not slowing down.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. Right on.
But yeah, they're fun. I love them.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, I'd love to get one. It's just financially, there's like all these other bikes that I want to.
There's always the toys. I know. It's
right.
Yeah.
So earlier you had mentioned that you guys use Ohlins on your bikes. How did that relationship happen?
Yeah, we've been using Ohlins just for a little bit now, and they, how that developed on the kind of the OEM side, being able to offer different build options that people can get straight from their website. I've been on a personal level, been working with Ohlins for going almost 4 years now. They've been a sponsor of mine and work with them, and I believe in the product 100%. Love the entire line, and so it's cool being able to offer that on the especially the Tempo. We have builds on the Supreme, you want the Furious, all sorts of stuff. So it's cool just to be able to offer that outside of just the Fox and a RockShox.
I mean, that's the thing is like, so many people or so many companies, and pretty much that's all there is.
Yeah.
And to start seeing some of these different brands like Ohlins or EXT or Push being offered on bikes is like, I think that it's really cool, because yes, those products are more expensive, but man, it definitely is like such a huge difference in what you get out of that. Like, I can't imagine, I haven't personally ridden a Fox coil, so I can't say for sure, but my assumption is a coil that costs $500 is no way it's going to feel as good as a $1,200 shock. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just making these prices up,
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the Push shock and EXT, like those coil shocks, I think they're $1,200.
Yeah,
for one of those shocks. And I feel Ohlins now, like the price point for them has come down quite a bit over the last couple of years, and now it's like kind of price point with, again, the Fox, RockShox, and everything, and the quality is there, the longevity is there, the maintenance is so easy, it's very, very little. So yeah, and people have been really stoked with it. A lot of people buy it that they're a little hesitant on it. They've only ever ran Fox. They've only ran, Marzocchi, RockShox, Suntour, DVO, all these things. But it's a product that we truly feel is up to par with the two top brands. Because I mean, we aren't going to, spec our bikes with products that we don't believe in, that we wouldn't ride ourselves. Because then it just creates issues with us later on down the line, even if it is a little bit more cost effective.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing but good things with Ohlins, man. So if you've yet to try it, then
I think it's cool too to have a bike that's designed, or like a tune for that shock that's designed for that actual frame as well, where like you guys have worked with them hand in hand to like get the perfect setup. And I will say this to anybody that's listening to the first time. I rode AirShock for a long time, and the reason I never rode a coil was because it was like, oh, that's like $1,200 just to try. I don't know if I'm gonna like that. You know what I mean? And the first time that I had a coil, it just completely like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I wish I would have done that years ago. Like, why did I wait?
Yeah, no, and like a properly tuned coil shock is, I mean, it's insane. It's so good. And that's another thing is, like, if you buy a shock from us, or a complete, if you're on the a la carte page or just buying a frame only, if you get a shock from us, it's specifically tuned for that frame that you get. So if you have a shock that like, oh, let's buy a frame and I still have, a 250 by 75 shock here that came off my, I don't know, whatever other frame you're running. It's not going to feel near as good as getting a shock from us, again, with that specific tune for that bike that we work with the brands to have our bikes OEM spec'd with the best possible tune on that shock that you can get. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
another plus of getting this is the shock with us whenever you buy the frame.
So then you just like put in your weight in that process or something like that, and then you guys pick the spring for that, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so they whenever you're on the a la carte page, if you know, I mean, for most bikes, if you're a 450 spring on this, a lot of times you're going to be a 450 spring kind of across the board.
Mhm,
It might vary, 25, 50 pounds here and there.
mhm,
But if you're on the a la carte and you pick a coil and you pick, Olin's like 525, but you can put in the special instructions. I weigh this much. If you think this is, not heavy enough for me or too soft, can you please put the proper spring on, and we'll do that.
mhm. Got it. So
So
just use the special instructions portion of the
yep.
website.
Yeah, you can do that. And a lot of people call in, they just ask us, hey, I'm ordering the Supreme. I'm, so and so weight. Here's my riding
Mhm.
style, beginner, intermediate, advanced. And then we'll kind of start helping them out on that side so they get,
Yeah, yeah,
get the right one.
yeah.
So,
Right on, man. I wanted to earlier you were saying that not all the frames had the UDH on it when we were talking about that. Do you have like I know you can't tell me like, hey, do you normally release bikes at a certain time of year, or do they just trickle whenever you're ready?
we used to try to do it at the start of each season,
Mhm,
kind of pre-COVID. Right now,
mhm,
just with how manufacturing is, the delays we're still seeing on shipping, the production materials, everything, we're
mhm,
honestly just kind of releasing things as we can, as soon
mhm.
as we
So
can.
got it.
So we try to do it, like I said, at the start of the season, start of spring, when I would say even like late in the winter, February, March, April, when people
Mhm,
kind of start thinking of the bike season, they start looking
mhm,
at bike videos instead of ski videos, and what they start bringing their bike out of the garage, like, oh, I need to replace all this. I just want to get a new bike, something like that. So it kind of
mhm,
gets in fresh into their mind that we have new bikes that we're releasing.
mhm.
So, but as of right now, it's just kind of like whenever we're able to, and everything is up to par, how we feel we want to do it, then we'll do it then and there.
Yeah, yeah. So it seems like it's just like you were saying earlier, you can probably a e-bike in the next week or so, and so things are just kind of throughout the year. What's the best way for people to know? Just like follow you guys on Instagram, or like
Yep. Yeah,
is there
social
some kind
media.
of like update, like put me on the newsletter kind of thing on the website or something? Or
So if you order anything off the website, then the email that you created there goes in basically our data pool. So every newsletter that we send out, you'll get that newsletter. And
hmm
every new bike that we release, models, even if it's the same frame but different build kits or new a la carte options that we can do, or
hmm
even events that we're doing, will get sent to that newsletter. But honestly, social media, the main Commencal page, we'll post it on our main
yeah,
that one, the Commencal USA, as well as Canada. Yeah, that's kind of the best way to go about it. And then Pink Bike, we always have our full Pink Bike article with the video that we'll release with the bike and the
hmm
photos and all that. So, but easiest for most people, hop on Instagram and it'll be
yeah.
popped up right there for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you as well. We're gonna pivot off of Common Salt just for a minute. You had told me that you're a Continental rider as well,
Mhm.
and every year for the last few years, I go to Sea Otter, and they're pretty much the biggest supporter there. Like they always have like,
Yeah.
huge tents and all over the place. And I'm always walking around like I don't know anything about them
Yeah.
until this year they finally, or I don't know, finally. I don't know what they've been doing all along. Obviously, a lot with bikes that I'm just like completely like ignorant to. But
Yeah.
that new Kryptal tire, I've just heard so many people talking about it. Are you riding
Yeah.
that?
I am. Yeah. So honestly, like across the whole line, the Xylitol, Cryptotol, Argotol, all of them are, dude, they're so good. They're honestly the best tires I've ever ran. Not just because I'm affiliated with them, but they
Mhm,
truly are so good. And even like right now, I'm kind of like the setup I ran at Sea Otter was like the Xylitol front and rear, a little bit faster rolling, but still had really good side knobs on it for cornering.
mhm,
And I'm been riding that here in Colorado, just to try a little. It's like I said, it's a little bit less aggressive tire,
mhm.
but it's handling again. It's rolling faster, but still handles so well. And like the
That's
loose right here,
the Z one you said, the Xylitol?
the Xylitol, yeah, XYNOTAL.
Oh, okay. XY.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been kind of messing around with the enduro and trail casing, front and rear, messing with a little bit as well as downhill casing and everything. And dude, they're good, man. Like it's still a lot of people are still just learning that they're doing bike tires because they come from the automotive industry for years and German-based company. But dude, if whenever you get a chance to get a set of them, definitely,
Yeah.
It's
so the Cryptol is more of the enduro tire, and then the Sinatol you said is the
the Commencal is a little bit more aggressive tire in there. They get the front and rear tread patterns for those, and then the Zinatol is a little bit faster rolling on the top knobs there, but still good side knobs for when cornering there. So
that just so people know, then also like they're actually making a front specific and a rear specific version. It's not like, let's just say Maxxis, for example, where it's like, yeah, you can put a DHF on the rear if you wanted to, like.
Yeah, I mean, you can run them. Like we've ran like the rear, front and rear. Again, just trying things, and it runs really, really well. Again, it's just a little bit more aggressive, but it does under braking is where it really performs. And on a downhill bike, that's what you mainly look for is a tire that is good under braking. Under braking and cornering, as far as acceleration goes, like it's again, you don't need that as important. So you just need a tire that's going to be a consistent feel and get really good under braking, no matter what soil you're going to be in. And that's where that rear is really, really good. But with
have you tried the Cryptol up front and the Zinatol in the back, like just to kind of give you a little better spin for like?
Yeah, and for overall, it is a very, very good combo.
Yeah.
No matter if you're on trail, enduro, or downhill casing, if you're on out here, it's a really, and a lot of places, just like the really sharp rocks, you want a little bit extra cushion on there, a little bit more damping, so that downhill casing is really nice. But most of the time I run full trail or enduro and all that things. It lightens it up a little bit. It's a little bit harder compound on the trail. But yeah, still traction is really nice. And yeah, the Zinatol on the rear, then like the Crypto up front is a freaking amazing combo for all around, all trails, loose, even in mud too. Like it's still really, really good.
So your versions are what are the you said trail and then enduro or downhill, or what are the names again?
Exactly. Yeah. Trail, enduro, or downhill.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. There.
Got it. So the enduro is kind of like not like a double down, but like a EXO plus kind of thing. If you're in the Maxxis zone. Pretty
similar, yeah. Compared to Maxxis, kind of like a XO plus, double down, and then they're downhill casing, more or less.
Okay, got it.
Same.
Right on, man. I hadn't seen them until Sea Otter, and the shop that I always use. Shout out to Spartan Rides in Phoenix. They had them there, and it just the way that compound felt in my hand, like the first time that you go up and you just like squeeze that like downhill, like you're like, holy shit, dude, it feels like Play-Doh, where you're like, it is so soft, but like obviously it's not gonna like just rip right off, but it's like, and those guys were saying they wear well, even as soft as it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in the downhill, like I said, it is the super soft compound that comes on the downhill casing, and it's almost like Play-Doh, dude. Like it's so crazy how well it grips and everything. But the longevity of the tire is really good. It lasts forever.
Yeah, so, I would imagine pedaling it up some like road probably sucks balls because you probably feel like it's like Velcro. But I mean, the downhill stuff though is like where that's just going to pay off something fierce.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. And they were the presenting sponsor of Sea Otter, so that's why you obviously saw the signage everywhere and the big booths and and everything. So they definitely go all out for that event.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's neat to see. Like I said though, like even the year before they were there, and because I remember walking around and thinking like, I don't really know why they're here. You know what I mean? Like it in my mind, and I will be the first to admit that I'm not one of those like, I'm not like a biking guru by any means. I'm like more like the regular guy that like. Put it this way, when I met Sam Pilgrim, my friend was like, hey, this is Sam Pilgrim. And I'm like, hey, what's up? I don't know. To me, it was some dude named Sam.
Yeah, cool.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, right on. You like bikes? So do I,
Yeah. Which is true.
Yeah. So, shout out to him as well, man. I feel like that's my
He's a
favorite
legend.
YouTube channel lately. Oh my God. Have you watched his YouTube stuff?
Oh yeah, I will say he's one of the only like YouTubers that I watch,
Yeah.
and I love watching his stuff, man. It's so good.
He's like so comical and like the shit he's willing to try. I watched him like riding this bamboo bike and he's just like doing shit that you're like, man, and he's telling you the whole way through the video, like, I'm pretty sure the head tube's gonna break on this thing. And like,
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I'm worried about.
and he's
Lo
still
and
doing it.
behold, he's still like out there just hucking shit, man. That guy's nuts. But
What
he's
you got?
funny too, you know? So
Yeah, what you got to do to get the views?
I guess, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But no, the dude's sick.
Yeah, for sure, man. So what are you excited about with, as far as Commencal goes?
Man, like that's just the what's to come, honestly.
Yeah.
And the like growing up racing downhill and being more gravity oriented guy and being with a brand that's the heart and soul is downhill racing. And with I head over next season, I'll be at all the World Cups and everything. And like when you're there at a World Cup and again you're with Commencal, it's really cool, man. It is with all the teams, the time and effort they put into it, learning everything about it. So honestly, excited for the World Cup season. Hoping, the teams do well because I'm still affiliated with one of the Commencal teams as well. And so I'll be over there helping Austin Dooley out, Palmanulio, a few other boys. And and I'll take care of all the North Americans for Commencal as far as kind of helping out on the support over there, working in with our race support tent and our Canada office. So, but yeah, just a lot of good things to come in. Always something new, always something to talk about. And
that's got to be a super fun experience. Going to that and like being part of the team. And what do you enjoy about it? Like just like the camaraderie or like the actual like race or?
Dude, all of it, honestly. Like last year I started the Commencal North America World Cup team and it was like, it was a lot. Like I learned so much from being like a race team manager and all the logistics that come around it. And like, it is a lot, but whenever you're in the finish corral, it's finals day, thousands of people cheering. It's just like your rider comes down, they do well. It's just like that moment is pretty freaking sick, I'm not gonna lie. And like you get a lot of like that feeling on TV and like the nervousness and everything. But when you're down there and the last few riders are coming, it's like it's nuts, man. It's so cool. And like the racing and over in Europe, like you go over there and you're like downhill is definitely not dead.
Yeah.
Dude, like being in Leger last year for Worlds and the finish corral, that was one of the most insane experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
Especially
I'll have to go to one of those sometime. I'm not much of a person that watches racing, so I always say like the pro riders that I know that their names is because I've met them. Like otherwise I'm like people start rattling off names. I'm like, dude, I have no clue who you're talking about. But I think that environment though, like the way you're explaining it, it sounds like a really good time.
It is, man, and it's something that you got to experience. Even if you're like a big like roadie or XC dude, whatever may obviously cross countries in the World Cups and it's really cool. But the finals day of downhill is second to none.
Off the hook,
yeah. Especially if you're in a country and that country's rider wins. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Especially Europe, man. They're big on their like sports and their like local people. I feel like they're like more stoked about it than Americans for some reason. I don't know.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's rad, man. It sounds like a really good time.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's a great company to be with, and excited for the future for the brand and here in the North USA as well. It's like the brand's grown so much, and it's gained a lot of good traction here. People seem pretty stoked on it, and it's cool brand to be a part of. So
right on, man. Well, we're about to wrap up, dude. It's been awesome chatting with you, dude. So much fun talking about all the different bikes that you guys have and what your personal experience has been. So I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me and all the BYKER Bar patrons and listeners and whatever you want to call them.
Whatever there. Yeah. No, thanks for having me, man. It was
Super fun chat. I always like to ask people at the end what YouTube channels they like to watch, whether it has to do with mountain biking or not. Like there's always some interesting ones that come up since this is put on YouTube. It'll be really easy for people to look around.
YouTube channels that I watch.
Yeah.
outside of the Commencal channel.
Yeah. Right.
I would say I love watching Remy stuff. Remy Battaglia. His
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, his
I
stuff
had
is
him
really
on the
good.
show a couple episodes back. He was real fun to chat with too.
Yeah, I watched that episode actually. It's
Oh, right on.
yeah, always good watching that. I watch a lot of like rally car stuff too.
Oh,
It's,
cool.
it's just always something I thought would be so cool to do. Like I'm never gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe never say never, I guess. But dude, I
Yeah.
just love watching that stuff of what Travis Pastrana and even like stuff like Axel Hodges, his
Yeah. Travis
like
Pastrana's a
USA
nutcase,
stuff.
man. That guy's rad.
Yeah, so good. Anything those guys do in like the moto
Yeah.
side of it, and I'm a big Supercross fan, so anything with Supercross
Yeah,
stuff,
it makes
all
sense.
the
Okay, that makes
riders,
sense.
yeah, even their podcast, the Pulpamex, everything. I listen to all that
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Right on, man.
yeah. And the
That's
B1KER
awesome,
Bar
dude.
Podcast too. So
Yeah, there you go. Right. And I got one subscriber at a time, dude. That's how I'm doing it, man.
yeah, one at a time. That's all it takes.
Right. Well, like I said, I appreciate it, man. I really, really do. It was a great conversation. Those of you guys that haven't checked out Commencal before, there is a link in the show more. You can click that, go over, check it out. Lots of good bikes in the lineup over there. Good affordable prices. And even if you want to save a little bit more money, you can look at that secondhand stuff. I would imagine their demo fleet's probably getting close to coming up on being up on there. So go ahead and swing over to the website, take a look at it. Give me a follow on Instagram or Facebook if you haven't already. Get some extra free content over there. Really appreciate it. If you're watching this long on YouTube and you haven't hit subscribe or thumbs up, you're doing it wrong. Other than that, there is just one thing that you need to remember. It only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one.
True.